Hello, good crowd. We are just an embarrassment of riches today. We've got with us Steve Stirling, who is the president and CEO of MAP International, an international NGO that is delivering $500 million worth of medicine to millions upon millions of people around the world. Stick around. You don't want to miss this episode.
Welcome to the Your Mark on the World show with your champion of social good, Devin D. Thorpe.
Steve, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Devin, for having me on your show.
Well, it's a pleasure. We're thrilled to have you. You know, you've done some truly remarkable things in your career, but you've worked in the pharmaceutical industry for years and years in the for-profit world, and it's an interesting capstone to your career so far that you are now leading MAP International. Tell us a little bit about how you're leveraging your pharmaceutical history with your nonprofit present.
Oh, thank you. You never know when you start your career how that may end up. And I started my career with Johnson & Johnson on Tylenol, and then helped launch Advil, and then went to Boost Nutritional Drink. And all of that was in preparation for ultimately where I ended up at MAP, because we get pharmaceutical companies to donate us medicines that are getting close to expiration. They're not expired. And then we raise money, and with partners on the ground, we ship, like you said, $500 million of life-saving medicines to roughly 100 countries all over the world. The WHO estimates there are 2 billion people in the world that do not have access to life-saving medicine. And we have the privilege to be a part of that with partners on the pharma side and our partners on the ground to deliver these life-saving medicine.
It's amazing. So how do you convince the pharmaceutical industry to give you $500 million worth of drugs every year?
Well, MAP's been around for 65 years, so we have a very long track record of being really good. When we say we're going to do something, we do it. And also we have to report back to the pharma companies, what did we do with the medicine? So we have very trusted partners on the ground. We actually give reports back on where was the medicine delivered. We get stories, and really life-changing stories to people that the medicines like amoxicillin, or it could be Tylenol, Advil, OTC, but also prescription products. Take hypertension medicine, and if you don't have those medicines, you're not going to live very long. And we have the opportunity to give long life because you have these chronic diseases. We have medicine for them.
This is vitally important work, as you say. So give us an example of the supply chain after you. How do the logistics work? How does MAP get products into the hands of someone who couldn't otherwise afford to buy them?
We get the pharmaceutical companies will donate us medicines, and we're in Brunswick, Georgia, and very close to Highway 95, and the trucks, containers of medicine come to us. And then we store them we have a 40,000 square foot warehouse, temperature controlled. And then with partners, we will then either ship it directly to their port of call or to their US location, where then they will combine the medicines, and then it's going to the destination. So once it gets on the container, our partners will clear customs because they have the people on the ground to do so. And then they will ship it to clinics and hospitals around in that particular area. And so we are in Latin America, 60% of our medicines go there because of proximity. Only takes a week on the container shipments to go there, whereas Africa might take 4 to 6 weeks. And then once it gets there, then our partners will get it to the clinics, hospitals, and then the healthcare professional, when they visit, then they'll prescribe their medicine.
Excellent. It's like you say, it's life-saving work. How did you get connected with MAP?
I get about 6 years ago, I got a call from a recruiter, and I was at another nonprofit where I was COO, and the recruiter says, we have a perfect job for you as CEO of MAP. And I said, MAP? Who uses MAP? Everybody has GPS. She said, no, MAP stands for Medical Assistance Program. And so when I looked into it, the 990, and looked at what they did, I said, wow, this is really something I was been prepared for. And you can't see me, but you may see my book behind me, but I have crutches because when I was 1 year old in Korea, I had polio. And you don't see many people in the U.S. with polio, but back then in the early, it would have been 56, 57, the polio vaccine had not made it to Korea. And so I'm really reminded daily that a vaccine could have prevented me from getting polio. So when I saw my pharmaceutical background and also my nonprofit experience and how we could come together, and so I applied, and after many interviews, they hired me as CEO of MAP International. That was over 5 years ago now.
Wow, what an experience! What an amazing experience. I can't help myself because I have written so much about polio eradication that to not take a little bit of a detour there. I have traveled to India, Ethiopia, and Pakistan for stories to look at polio eradication, and it is an amazing global effort. And as you know, I'm sure the world is almost polio free. There will probably be about 100 cases in the whole world this year, but as close as we are,
That's
we're
right.
not
That's
there.
close, right?
That's right. As close as we are, we're not there yet. How do you compare that? In your mind, what's the relationship between the drugs you're delivering now at MAP and the vaccine that you didn't receive, even though you might have, the vaccine existed when you needed it, but you didn't get it?
Right. And that is such a great example. Actually, I'm a Rotarian in Atlanta Rotary Club. And as you know, with the Gates Foundation and the WHO and governments of the world, we're trying to eradicate polio. And there's only 2 countries in Pakistan and Afghanistan where the polio virus still is there. And you have to eradicate it because it could spread very quickly. And for me, there's diseases, chronic diseases that are prevalent in our culture as well. Take diabetes as an example, hypertension, asthma. And if you have medicines to treat it, you could live a long life without getting sick. But if you don't treat that underlying problem, you could have kidney disease, you could have a stroke, and become disabled yourself. And that is a very, very challenging situation, especially in developing countries if you have a disability. And it's a very tough life. So if you can prevent it from happening, it is so much better. And then we have medicines that we can provide for free through our partners. So this is why I'm so passionate about working at MAP International.
Well, it is, I can understand now why you have such a passion for this work, because you, like you said, every day is a reminder of what might have been different. Of course, you've been tremendously successful, but the reminder is there nonetheless. Interesting, powerful analysis. As you look back on your career, Steve, what are you most proud of having accomplished?
Well, that's a great question. I think especially working at pharmaceutical companies, it's always helping people. How do we enrich their lives? So I always, and that's an example, Boost nutritional drink. It helps people with nutrition. And that was when I was Bristol Myers Squibb with Mead Johnson. So it was always doing something to help people. But then ultimately, when I look at that experience working in the corporate world, I leverage that because nonprofit is, we don't make the money, but it is more important to help people because it gives them a chance to realize their potential. And we all need help. I got help many times. So if I could help somebody to realize their potential, it just gives me a great satisfaction to be able to do that.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, it is exciting to be able to talk to you about this incredible work. As you reflect on your career, though, you've done so many interesting things, varied and disparate things. What's the most important lesson you've learned in your career?
I think there's 2 things. One is courage. And especially for me, I have crutches. I'm not your typical corporate executive. I've had challenges. But so you need courage to do it. Just go and do it. And secondly, you need humility because you don't do it yourself. I had lots of help. And I think when you combine the 2, courage and humility, you can almost accomplish anything. And for me, that served me well in the corporate world. and also now in the nonprofit world to help more people. But those are the two characteristics, I believe: courage and then humility.
No, that's great. Now, Steve, there are a lot of people who have experienced health challenges, but most of them don't go on to lead a large nonprofit that deals with that. Why did you feel compelled to take this role? Why did you feel compelled to take responsibility for addressing this problem?
I think God allowed me to get polio for a purpose. Why did I get polio, and why wasn't I vaccinated? And because of that, I have life experiences, and I know what it is like to live in a developing countries, like in India. I was in India a couple of years ago. And in India, if you have polio, you got to be crawling. When I was in the orphanage, when I was a child, I was crawling because I didn't have crutches or leg braces. And so for me, I have the passion because I know what it feels like to be on the ground crawling, be made fun of because I have crutches. Kids constantly made fun of me in Korea, and physically and verbally. So I know how that feels. So if I can help a child not to get sick, it is such a huge impact. As an example, when I was traveling to Cambodia, I met a young woman, and she had a prosthetic leg. So I asked her what happened, and because I have crutches, she opened up to me. She said when she was 12 years old, she steps on a nail, and her foot gets infected. Now, her family didn't have money, so they basically applied some herbal medicine. And to make a long story short, by the time she had to go to the hospital, gangrene had set in, and they actually had to amputate her leg at the thigh. And she was so ashamed of being a half a person. She would not leave her hut for a year. And in many cultures around the world, in developing countries, they believe that if you have any disability, either at birth, an accident, or disease, that you or your parent has sinned and God is punishing you. It's a double whammy. And that is why I'm so passionate about how can I help people so they can prevent those type of diseases. Another example is mental health. If you look at epilepsy as an example, we work with the Carter Center to provide epileptic and other psychotropic medicine in the country of Liberia. If you have an epileptic seizure, people will actually beat you because they want to drive out the evil demons out of you. In the meantime, they're getting physically abused. Now you get the medicine to treat it, you could live a long more life. So that is why just a little bit of help with medicine, you can live a very productive life. And that is why I'm so passionate.
Wow. It's powerful stuff. So Steve, what is your superpower?
I believe that I have purpose in life. And that's for me, is for my faith, because and for me, it's like I used to wonder, why did I get polio? Why did I get abandoned? Why did kids making fun of me? I mean, it was tough. It's challenging. Now I'm thankful to be in the U.S. because it's lots easier, but it's still challenging to put on my leg braces, walk, you fall, you get up. But I believe I have purpose in life, and it says that we are God's workmanship, created in Jesus to do good works. So for me, I have purpose. So it's not for a waste that I have polio. It's not for just it's tough and you got to deal with it. So for me to use that to help other people and to encourage other people, and that's what really drives me. And for me, it's not like work, because I'm really trying to help people, encourage them to say, hey, look, you can do it. If I can do it, you can do it. And so hopefully I can be an encouragement to other people.
Oh, fantastic. That's brilliant. Well, Steve, thank you so much for taking the time to be with us today. Before you go, would you take a minute and tell people how they can learn more about MAP International and how they can connect with you, perhaps on social media?
Go to www.map.org, and I'm on Facebook, and I'm on Twitter. And I want to talk about my book that's coming out. It's out there now. You can get it at Amazon.com and Barnes & Noble. It's called The Crutch of Success. And it's obviously crutch, how can that be success? And I talk about that and my story growing up in Korea, what it was like, be adopted, and it's really about my life story. And first I didn't want to write it. It's like, I don't want to put my whole life in front of people. But then it's not about me. It's about how do I encourage other people to live out their dreams. and for the higher calling in life.
Fantastic. Well, I will look forward to reading that. Thank you very, very much, Steve. I really appreciate you taking the time to be with us, and we wish you every success with your book and in continuing your life-saving work around the world.
Thank you, Devin, for having me on the show.
All righty. Let's do some good.
Devin Thorpe's mission is to end extreme poverty, improve global health, and mitigate climate change before 2045 by finding and sharing the stories of those who are doing the most good.
Thanks for tuning in to the Your Mark on the World show, the Social Impact Podcast. Please subscribe via YouTube, iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, or Spotify.